Everything that occurred between Darling and me was akin to a terrifying nightmare, constantly lingering in my heart and refusing to dissipate. I had always believed that the emotions between men and women weren't solely confined to love and lust. I had always admired that sort of transcendent and pure friendship. Regrettably, the harsh reality brutally exposed my naivety and immaturity. The relationship between Darling and me over the course of more than 5 years has loomed like a colossal shadow in my heart. Our encounter was no coincidence. It was during the winter of 2013, fresh out of a failed marriage. I was still mired in distress. One day, as I headed to the bank to withdraw money, someone unexpectedly called out to me in the banking hall. It turned out to be Darling, a former colleague from the same workplace. Back then, we had worked together in the same workshop. After years of separation, we struck up a conversation. Darling showed genuine concern by asking about my recent circumstances. Unwilling to expose my personal affairs, I simply insisted that everything was fine. As we parted ways, we exchanged our phone numbers. A few days later, Darling called, informing me that their company was in need of an accountant and inquired if I was interested. Given that the conditions at my current workplace were satisfactory, I politely declined. Nevertheless, a warm sentiment rippled within me. After all, as a former colleague, his thoughtfulness was touching. From then on, we maintained regular phone communication. One day during my break, I invited him to my home for a visit. He readily agreed and actually showed up. Glancing round at the humble furnishings in the room, he regarded me with a puzzled expression. "So, has the child gone to school?" Since the child was awarded to my ex-husband following the divorce, the mere mention of the child sent me into an emotional turmoil, and tears began to flow uncontrollably. Meeting him felt like encountering a close relative, allowing me to finally unburden the pent-up emotions within my heart. This life is bound to have its ups and downs for everyone. Darling consoled and guided me like an elder brother. I am an inherently introverted individual. Prolonged mental suppression left me desperately craving a confidant, even if it was just a glimmer of understanding. Feeling that Darling was 9 years my senior, I instinctively derived a sense of security from him, treating him as an elder brother and a dear friend. Whenever I encountered troubles in life, I would reach out to him over the phone, seeking his advice. In my heart, he was a kind and affable big brother. Darling also confided in me that he had endured a consistently strained relationship with his partner. His wife was lacking in empathy, and their marriage was teetering on the brink. A sense of mutual sympathy gradually took root within me. Our interaction with Darling instilled in me the courage and confidence to persevere. After all, there was still someone in this world who cared and fretted about me. One balmy summer afternoon, Darling extended an invitation to his home, stating that his wife was away on a business trip. I spent a considerable time at his residence and made several attempts to leave, only to be vigorously persuaded to stay. He stammered, professing his long-standing affection for me and his determination to end his marital ties. We stared at each other in silence. His gaze burned with intensity, causing my heart to race uncontrollably. Suddenly, he drew nearer, pulling me forcefully into his embrace. The instinctive nature of a woman enabled me to anticipate the impending situation. I fought with all my might, but was unable to withstand his fierce advance, ultimately succumbing as my final psychological defense crumbled. Half resisting and half yielding, I surrendered to his will, as helpless as a lamb. Once the storm had passed, a tidal wave of remorse crashed over me. In that instant, the once favorable image of darling in my heart was shattered. My heart was a tumultuous mix of emotions, with all the joys and sorrows transforming into a torrent of tears that streamed down my cheeks. I bellowed at him, "I never want to lay eyes on you again. You turned out to be such a despicable person." Subsequently, for nearly half a year, all contact between darling and me was severed. Fate dealt me a cruel hand. Just this solitary instance led to an unplanned pregnancy. I chose not to disclose this news to him and opted for an abortion all by myself. I harbored no intention of burdening him with responsibility. I merely sought to sever all ties and ensure no further interaction. Solely indulging in this bitter cup of life's travails, my mood plummeted further into depression. Countless nights spent tossing and turning beneath the solitary lamp, I remained perplexed. I couldn't fathom why, beyond sexual intimacy, a pure emotional connection between men and women seemed elusive. Perhaps we are all but ordinary mortals, trapped within the confines of mundane conventions. One day a month later, it was my birthday. The outside air was chilly as I busied myself in the office. Suddenly, a familiar silhouette materialized at the door, clutching a birthday cake. It was Darling. His unexpected arrival reignited the turmoil in my heart. I coldly dismissed him. "Depart. I have no desire to see you." He awkwardly placed the cake down. "I merely wished to see you. Since you hold such aversion, I shall take my leave." Watching his retreating figure, a sense of emptiness washed over me once more. Another day, he awaited me once again at the entrance of my workplace, only to be rebuffed without a shred of leniency. I remained uncertain whether love for him still resided within me, yet the resentment persisted, refusing to dissipate. Day after day, I wandered in solitude and isolation. Throughout the protracted span of over 5 years, I remained solitary, hesitant to venture into the realm of love anew. I strived earnestly to forget the past and escape the shadow that lingered in my heart, yet found myself powerless to do so. Memories often involuntarily resurfaced. One day towards the end of last year, I was pedaling my bicycle on the way home from work when suddenly, the car horn blared incessantly from behind. Glancing back, Darling's head protruded from the car window, his face adorned with a beaming smile. In that moment, as if under some mysterious influence, I brought my bicycle to a halt. Darling parked his vehicle at the upcoming turn. The man who emerged from the car bore little resemblance to the person I knew 5 years ago. A crisp suit, polished leather shoes, and meticulously dyed black hair, every aspect inadvertently showcased his newfound success and contentment. As he drew nearer, a myriad of emotions welled up within me, and my eyes involuntarily moistened. "It's wonderful to encounter you again." The excitement was palpable on his face when he inquired about my life with the concern of an elder brother. All the resentment seemed to vanish in an instant. I did not decline his invitation. and we sought refuge in a nearby restaurant to sit and talk. It transpired that in the intervening years, his car sales business had flourished, bringing him considerable affluence. He confided that his relationship with his wife remained lukewarm due to their child's impending college entrance examination. They felt compelled to make do and stay together. Half a month later, I found myself unemployed, at a time when my spirits were at an all-time low. Darling called. When I broke down in sobs, sharing my predicament, he consoled me. There's always a way out when you least expect it. He assisted me in securing a storefront in the new district, arranged for a simple renovation, and procured 2 display counters for me. Before long, my small store opened its doors. Undoubtedly, his contribution was indispensable, and my gratitude knew no bounds. That afternoon, he phoned once more. I'll treat you to dinner tomorrow. The following morning, he called to test the waters. Where are you? When I replied, at home, he exclaimed excitedly, I'll be there shortly. I offered the excuse, there's no food at home, to which he responded, as long as you're there, it's all good. The car arrived promptly as soon as he entered the room. Before we could exchange more than a few words, he drew the curtains and abruptly pushed me onto the bed. I struggled with all my might, but in the face of his overwhelming force, I had no alternative but to submit. Amidst my weeping, he dressed and departed, his expression one of satisfaction.